All right. Have just I've just finished my work. Actually, my presentation and my poem for my CBT for my CBT tomorrow. And I feel really exhausted and want to go to sleep, but I have to do this one because if I don't do it, so I can improve my speaking skill. Okay, so let's start it. You know the saying, you yourself best. I would say, before you be the best. Is being 30% of the class good enough for you? No. If you want something, you got to get after it. And then you start producing good results and then you build your confidence along the way. This could be chased here at 10 to these techniques that are squared by medical students that have been getting into medicine and they use these on a day-to-day basis. Half they focus on the actual study techniques and the other half focus on study mentality, which is such as important. Let's start with the first one. First, you got to study from the testable core materials hours. So let's say the box represents all the information that is presented to you. The star in the middle is the testable material. Someone who doesn't know how to study will go from top to bottom, covering every single detail. And when the exam camp comes, they haven't covered like 20 to 30% of the whatever is testable. Whereas someone who know how to study will from the video, what materials instead more than study hours. And then exam camp comes and already have studied everything and studied what is important and what is testable. I know they're going to be the best student as possible. I want to be the best doctor as possible. So with studying, we have this tendency to try to learn everything. But we have to make this mindset shift from focusing on those long-term goals to short-term goals. And those short-term goals, when you're taking courses, is to pass and get good grades in every midterm and every exam that's be presented for you. And then those long-terms will take care of themselves. So how do you know what's testable or not? There are three ways of figuring that out. First is to look for practice tests or previous tests. Sometimes the lecturers give you the impression that they give lecture to go over pay attention to those. I also looked at online undergrad to figure out if there are any practice tests lying around and asked seniors if they have taken the course and if they had any practice material. And asked my friend who was also taking the course. You know, you can use your resources to figure out if there are any additional study materials that you can use to have to think like a seminar. And learners, when you're going over material, always imagine in your mind how can I test this in the multiple choice format, how can I test this in the short answer format, and then try to learn that way. The material list is to write good conscious notes and then plan out your timing for your midterms and all your exams, and then constantly evaluate as you are studying so that you're not falling behind. So for example, let's just say you're taking five courses before midterm, you have to go over 10 lectures per course and then each lecture has 50 slides and that's total 2,500 slides you have to go over before the midterm. Also have to write a good time concise note that summarizes everything that makes it manageable for you to go over materials before you write the midterm so that you're not overloaded. Share good notes concepts that possible containing keywords and important information. When I think you don't remember something from your notes, you have PowerPoint slide you can always fall back on. Number three on the list to use active recalling learning. I made a video on this previously that you can watch, but let me expand on that further here. Let me start off by giving you examples of students who don't know how to study. So when presented with an information like mitochondria is powerhouse of the cell, they do it without thinking, they just write. Nothing's good come in the brain, and so what I do when I'm going over my notes is I read information, I write only the keywords, and then I suppose looking at my notes and look at by keywords. For example, break mitochondria. Then I try to think mitochondria is the part of how powerhouse of a cell. Why the powerhouse of a cell? And then I try to supplement information from the lecture is the power of how the cell can produce ATP. So I'm using all of my senses working there, which is tactical motion. I'm saying things that are really verbal. I'm looking at my notes. Previously, I'm using my visual cues And I'm saying I'm listening, so I'm cruising also my ability senses. And most often, when you're actively recalling, you cannot remember all the information. And it's okay because studies have shown that just by attempting to recall, you are creating the connection between information and your memory. Number four, I cannot emphasize this enough. Reviewing is just as important as learning information. So if you have 20 lectures go over before midterm, for example, it's about to go 1 to 20 and then go back to 1 to 20. What I do is I go to 1 to 5 and then I repeat 1 to 5 quickly and then I move on 6 to 10. And then 1 to 20 to 10, if even more quickly, I go over 1 to 5 and then I go look over 6 to 10 and then I go into 11 to 15. Obviously, you have to take time to this quickly before midterm, so you actually cover everything. Number five is for my synthetic thing. You have to study the harder for your midterms than your final exams. You gotta obviously study hard for your final exam, but you have to study harder for your midterms because that sets the tone for that entire course. Let's say you get bad mark on the midterm, then in the entire course it's just a catch-up game. You're worrying the whole time, probably 2 3 months worrying about whether you're going to get a good enough final mark so that you can make a good forget your bad mark on your midterms. Number six is having a strong mindset throughout the school year. I'm going to come across a little harsh here, but you know what I'm saying? You could say, you're the best. I would say, firstly, you're going to be the best. Is your best really the top 1% of your class? Is your best the top 5% of your class? If the program you want to get into in the end of class has like 10% acceptance rate, is mean top 20% of your class good enough for you? No. So you have to want something, you got to get after it. And then you start producing good results and then you produce confidence along the way. Number seven is putting the work in and outworking everyone, which is kind of tentative to put in this video because this is a study technique video. But compared to someone who knows all the techniques but does not work hard, someone who doesn't know any of these techniques and is just putting in hours in studying and getting information into the brain is always going to be the person with better study techniques. I wasn't a brighter person in my class, so what I do at worst, I would just literally outvote everyone. How do we know that? I was in the library before everyone else. I walked out of the library after everyone else. I stayed by my time, staying on Friday nights, Saturday nights when everyone was going out partying. And it was, one of the other students that was living in the library at the same time, and he's now a cardiac surgery resident at U of A. Things like that happen. I just have to outvote everyone if you really want to be successful. Number eight is getting serious study partners, friend who wants to pass you. I think it could be hard to find them when you start studying in the library all the time. You tend to come across these guys. It's hard coming early in the morning and leaving late at night. I mean, in weekends and in the crowd, I had very good friends who I really studied and with, and we didn't disrupt each other. We were the worst time to study. We didn't each other. We was when the person was taking care of them. We went out and have fun. Number nine is staying consistent and staying on top of everything. Especially in medicine, where like million things going on. If I start to lose track of things, I get super stressed. So I have to be on top of every email. I have to be on top of every assessments and all the work I have to do. An undergrad, if you're doing with 5 courses plus your extracurriculars and everything going on. So you have to stay on top of everything and get take an example of consistency and why it's so important. You have student A and student B. Your student A is working on Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, 20 hours each. Student B decided to work on Friday nights, but they decided to take Saturday and Sunday off. And the student has fallen behind student A by 24 hours. So no matter how hard you try, next on Monday studying 14 hours as opposed to 10 hours until they're studying 16 hours. This guy is always playing a catch up to this day. And when you are curve in university or undergrad, you're just going on to not to be able to compete against student A. Number 10 is totally controlling your anxiety and your worry when you went into school. There's two types of warriors. One is one doesn't study and we're worried about not studying. The solution is that it's simple. You have to study. Number two, this type of warrior is someone who worries despite having done honest studies. And when you're on that position, then you need to write down what are you worried about. So on your notebook, on an iPad, or whatever you're worrying because you're not seeing what you're worried about. So divide it half in the middle, write down what you can't control and what you cannot control. And one thing like what you can control is waking up early, going to the library, studying X amount of hours, and staying focused when you're studying. What you cannot control is the actual grade that I'm going to get from this course. Um, so worry, I'm going to get B, I'm going to get B plus, I'm going to get blank, I minus, A plus. You, you cannot control that. So what you can control, you just have to give up on what you cannot control. Okay, so that's the end of my video today. And today I'm so tired, so I don't have really much time to talk with myself for like 1 to 2 minutes. So okay, bye.